Okay, this is a short video about basically the recent news that we've encountered in the last couple days. So first up, it's mostly just a commentary on Warhammer Age of Sigmar, kind of the last chance to buy that happened over this weekend. I know a few people were pretty upset about this. So when Cities of Sigmar, the upcoming Battle Tome was announced, Games Workshop also mentioned that there'd be a handful of units that would be removed from the game. The timing might be a little bit unfortunate here, being soon after the General's Handbook, but these are far from the most popular armies. It probably has a fairly low impact. It might seem like a bit much more than a handful, but there are a lot of Warhammer Fantasy battle models still in the game, and in that larger context, it is still a relatively small selection. So effectively, this amounts to the first cull in the model line since the launch of Age of Sigmar, where we saw a lot of armies and models be removed. And the size and age of these factions basically meant that this was, in my opinion, very much inevitable, right? Models were available only in Finecast. Some were expected choices like that, while others were a little bit more curious. But, these are massive model lines. Massive model lines. Some of the newer factions in the game don't even have as many scrolls as some of these old ones. It just was an inevitability. So, I've divided up the section here by the old and new games. And I'll quickly just go through them. So, under terrain, the War Squire Citadel is being removed. That's a little unusual, but never quite matched the aesthetic of Age of Sigmar, and it was kind of temporarily reintroduced. It left a while ago and then came back in, and now it's leaving again. Under the Wanderers, basically all their special characters are basically removed, with the exception of one, I believe. The Way Watcher there is kind of a blow. The others, not so much. Obviously, the Spellweaver's useful. The only caster they have. And then under basically what was the old Empire model range, there's 3 different variations of Warrior Priest, the Free Guild General, the Gunmaster, Witch Hunter, Free Guild Archers, and Volkmar the Grim on the War Altar of Sigmar. What I find interesting here is what wasn't removed. Right, there are lots of kits still from these factions that are still in existence. And I think it's interesting to imagine or think about why they didn't decide to eliminate those. And then under High Elves, you have Lore Master, Dragon Noble, White Lion Chariot, White Lions. Some of these are kind of dual kits. And then you have Archmage, Dragon Blades, the plastic Sword Masters, the dual kit Archmage on Dragon, and Dragonlord and the Sky Cutter. And then Dwarfs Unforged, which was also the White Dwarf, the Dwarf Cannon, Dwarf Organ Gun, Quarrelers, and Thunderers. So again, I think what I take away from this is that not all High Elves, Wood Elves, Dwarves, or human models are being cut. Okay? There's still some of these factions remaining. Even if they really don't have much in the way of character, but there must be some choice or reasoning behind why some would be cut now and others not. Now, there's really only two options here. Either the remaining models from these ranges will be cut at some future date, or they have some form of plan for the remaining range. Now, I'm excited by the second option. Wanderers still exist in the world Age of Sigmar. The Dwarves still exist. The Phoenix Guard and Elves still exist. And I'm looking forward to building upon these new aesthetics. In the old Empire, the state troops from different cities and different regions were basically just painted different colors. They had a little bit of variations, in terms of emphasis on certain troops or something like that. But there's not a huge amount of variety in the aesthetic. The aesthetic remains the exact same. And we can just do so much more now. In the Realm Slayer audio drama, there's a free guild character from the free city of Odessa. And the city has this very exotic feel, simply similar to a Dorne in Game of Thrones. It's kind of this African, Arabian feel. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that that's what I want all free guild to be like. But give me options. Let me see what we can do here, right? If the Empire troops are the Imperial Guard of 40k, well, obviously 40k might not be the best example because they've really doubled down on Acadians, but all those other Valhalla and Steel Legion and all these things still exist in their lore. And there's nothing quite like that in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. They all looked pretty much the same. So, I mean, if you're upset by some of these cuts, I do get it. I say that as someone who owns most of these models. I simply take more of a stoical approach. As a collector, I'm very conscious of the fact that models and books are not available forever. They will all be unavailable at some point. That's something always at the present of my mind. And some simply have kind of a longer shelf life than others. And AOS and 40k itself, those games one day will not be played. So I try to live more in the moment. I try not to get too wrapped up in this type of drama. Enjoy the games as you have them. They're not going to be supported forever. The models themselves will all be pulled at one point. I just think you just need to kind of accept that and love them while you can, basically. It might seem a little weird. But, I absolutely love Warhammer. But in the end of the day, I'm very conscious of the fact that these things don't matter that much in the great scheme of things. So, it happened. Models get chopped, and, if you're just a die-hard Wanderer fan, this might be a little tough, but we don't know what's coming down the pipeline. And the fact that some Wanderer kits were left, I think, should give you some hope that they're going to, roll out brand new units or something like that complement them at some point. Not in the next couple months, but at some point in the future. And in the meantime, though you can still play with the army, it's still viable. No one's telling you can't play with them, even if you can't buy one or two characters. The amount of people that are jumping on into Age of Sigmar and running straight towards the old Dwarf faction and the old Wood Elf faction is probably pretty minimal. Alright, so with that in mind, I want to turn to the news for Warhammer 40k. So there's an upcoming Codex Space Marines. It's been about 2 years, so that's about the right time frame. And a lot of new Primaris kits have been released during that period, and they need to be incorporated into a single text. So I know there's kind of oversaturation of Space Marines and Stormcast. It's very much a chicken and egg situation in terms of what gets pushed. But I began my time in the hobby just purely playing Space Marines, so I'm definitely not someone that feels that type of animosity. So in my last hobby video, I mentioned that I would be, again, working on my Space Marine collection in the near future. And I almost ordered the current codex like 5 or 6 times in the last couple weeks, but didn't. So this release is a bit quite fortuitous on my part, and I'm going to wait a little while just to see what happens and wait until the book comes out and so on. So personally, I'm quite excited to see what the Codex expansions will feature. The Ultramarines and White Scars have already been confirmed, and that means that there are 4 or 5 additional supplements. I don't know if these will include the bigger Space Marine chapters. I strongly doubt that. Traditionally, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, they get their own book. I don't think this will be part of that. This is obviously just for kind of smaller supplements. And so I want to see things like Crimson Fists. And I would be very excited to see Black Templar that, haven't had kind of their own rulebook since like 4th or 5th edition. It's been a long time. And we'll see. I mean, this is a format that can quite easily apply to Chaos Space Marines and Eldar, as they've done in the past. Right? It's not a new concept. This is definitely a rehash. And yeah, it is a little bit of a cash grab. But, for those of people who, are just diehard into one chapter or something, it's kind of nice to have like your own little book. And hopefully there's a little more rules and a little bit more there that you can kind of chew on. And obviously there are kind of 2 brand new kits being released. The Impulsor, a Primaris transport that very much looked like an upgraded Rhino. And the new Invictor Dreadnought, which is kind of a lighter scout variant. I didn't know I need that in my life, but after I see one, they're definitely appealing. There's a lot of little details that I like, and I'm excited to see future releases. The one area that I don't think there's been anything Primaris situated would be kind of aircraft, so flyers are kind of a contentious issue, but I'd be looking forward to that. And I'm also, they came out with transfers and stuff like that for the White Scars. The White Scars is a really quite a strange choice, but I'm very happy to see it, and I definitely want some transfers for Black Templar and other things like that. So that sounds all very positive in my mind. And then we have 2 more characters that have followed Calgar into the Rubicon Primaris and have emerged on the other side in their Primaris version. This is the Ultramarine Librarian special character. And then following up on the White Scars, Corsaro Khan. Again, I've had him in my basket, the old model, a few different times in the last month or 2. The White Scar, like I said, is very interesting, but it's a welcome choice. They both look terrific, and I particularly like that little eagle. And Kill Team will be getting a new starter set. It's nice to kind of know that these kind of come in cycles, and I think that's probably a good idea, right? The more variation you have for starter sets, the more it might be appealing to people, right? The first one was Genestealer Cults and Adeptus Mechanicus. Not everyone's too keen on those factions necessarily. Space Wolves and Tau sounds pretty cool. And you get a lot more terrain. I'm glad they're doing different sets. If it was the exact same set of terrain, I might be a little less enthusiastic about this. But yeah, I'd probably strongly consider picking that up. And finally, there's a teaser about something that will change the game forever, quote. And basically, it's called the Psychic Awakening, and a lot of people seem to be anticipating that this is kind of endless spells for 40k, similar to those used in Age of Sigmar. That seems like a pretty good bet. I don't have a clue what it really will be, but that seems like a pretty solid choice. That's just it. I really wanted to just kind of get my thoughts on the last chance to buy stuff. Like I said, I know people are having a little bit of a hard time with it, but I think in the long run, these things happen, and it'll be mostly more of a positive thing. So we'll see. Thanks for listening.